With shocking new poll results coming out of key battleground races, it's time to see what the 2024 Senate elections would look like based on the latest polls from all of these Senate races. Now, I've gone ahead and filled out the safe states for the Democrats and the Republicans. The safe states are the states that Democrats or Republicans will win by more than 12 points. Again, this is not my prediction. This is just what it would look like based on the latest poll from all of these Senate races. Now, you might be seeing Nevada as a safe Democrat state, and you might be like, what? That's crazy. Nevada's a battleground state. And yes, it is crazy, but right now the latest poll out of Nevada has a Democrat up by 12 points, making that a safe state. And even though it is going to be a battleground state, that poll is probably an outlier. It's still considered a safe Democrat state. So let's start on the West Coast with Washington. The latest poll out of Washington has Cantwell up by 9 points. Cantwell is a Democratic incumbent, and it does look like she's going to win this by a comfortable margin, by 9 points, making this state a likely state for Democrats. The next state that we're going to look at is Arizona. The latest poll out of Arizona has Gallego up by 1 point. Now, Gallego is not the incumbent. Kyrsten Sinema is the incumbent from Arizona, the independent incumbent, but she decided to retire from Arizona, and it did not look good for her because every poll did show that she was trailing Kari Lake and Ruben Gallego in the state. And right now, Ruben Gallego does look like he is the favorite to win the Arizona Senate race, but right now by a tilt margin. The next state that we're going to look at is Montana. The latest poll has Tim Sheehy, who is challenging Jon Tester, the Democratic incumbent, up by 6 points in the state. Now, this is significant because Jon Tester is the incumbent, and polls before this had shown that Jon Tester was leading or very close to leading in the state. And the fact that Tim Sheehy is up by this much in Montana before the ads in the fall is very significant and is showing that Republicans are favored to take back the Montana Senate seat. The next state that we're going to look at is New Mexico. Now, New Mexico has a situation right now. So, Nella Domenici is the daughter of a prominent and beloved Republican senator from the state. And because of her name ID, it's going to be easier for her to get the vote out. And because she has name ID, it is showing in the polls that Heinrich, who is a Democratic incumbent, is only up by about 4 points right now, which is not a likely margin or a safe margin. It is only a lean margin for Democrats. Now, New Mexico voted for President Biden in 2020 by 11 points, and so this would be quite a big swing to the right in the Senate race. But nevertheless, it would be a lean margin for Democrats. The next state that we're going to look at is Nebraska. Now, the thing that's going on with Nebraska is Democrats have actually endorsed Osborne instead of actually putting out a Democratic nominee. Now, the reason why they've done this is because Nebraska is a very Republican state, and they've really thought that this is really their best chance of getting a somewhat liberal to be in the Senate. And the latest poll has Deb Fischer up by 4 points against Osborne. Now, I do think that these polls are very off because it's really early on in the election season, but going off of that poll, Nebraska would only be a lean margin for Republicans. The next state that we're going to look at is Texas. The latest poll out of Texas has Ted Cruz only up by 3 points. Now, the polls before that had shown that Cruz was up by 11 points and double digits, but it does show that the race is kind of narrowing right now. So this would really only be a lean margin for Republicans right now in Texas. Now, Minnesota is going to be a battleground state on the presidential level, but not on the Senate level. Amy Klobuchar is a very popular Democrat senator from the state, and the latest poll has Klobuchar up by 11 points in her state, just showing how good she is at raising money and really running an effective campaign. Right now, she's up by just barely a likely margin. It's almost a safe margin for Democrat. Now, before we move on, less than 3% of you are watching or subscribed. So if you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing. It really helps grow the channel and helps me put out this new election content coming up to this November. So back to the video. The next state that we're going to look at is Missouri. Right now, the latest poll out of Missouri has Hawley, the Republican incumbent, up by 9 points. Now, this is down from Donald Trump's margin in Missouri. Donald Trump actually won Missouri in 2020 by a safe margin. Now, Kuntz has been very well funded, the Democrat nominee, but still, this is going to be a likely margin for Republicans. I do think it's probably going to go up when it comes closer to the election, but for right now, it is only a likely margin for Republicans. The next state that we're going to look at is Wisconsin. Now, Tammy Baldwin is a very popular incumbent, but she's facing off against Eric Hovde, a wealthy businessman from the state. Now, right now, the latest poll has Tammy Baldwin up by 5 points in Wisconsin. Now, polling out of Wisconsin actually shows that Donald Trump is up in the state, but as of right now, it does look like Wisconsin is going to split ticket and vote for Trump, but also for Tammy Baldwin. So this would make Wisconsin a lean state for Democrats. The next state that we are going to look at is Indiana. Now, this poll was taken in October of last year, so I do not really give this a lot of, you could say, a weight, because this is really, it has so much undecided voters. I do believe Indiana is going to be a safe state for Republicans, but that's not the point of this video. This point of the video is to look at the latest polls, and looking at the latest poll out of Indiana, according to 558, Banks is up by 10 points, which would not be a safe margin. It would be a likely margin for the Republicans. Now we're going to move on to Tennessee. Marsha Blackburn is the Republican incumbent, and she's up by 11 points in the state. Marsha Blackburn really had the run of her life in 2018 because she faced off against the popular governor Phil Bredesen, and it did look like Phil Bredesen was going to win the state, but Marsha Blackburn did end up coming on top, and it is looking like she's going to have an easier election this time around. So this would make Tennessee a likely state for Republicans. The next state that we have is Michigan. The latest poll out of Michigan has Slotkin up by 2 points. Now, Michigan is a open seat because Debbie Stabenow is retiring from the Senate. And so this would actually make Michigan a tilt state for Democrats. I do see Mike Rogers coming on top, but based on the latest poll, it would be a tilt state for Democrats. The next state that we have is Ohio. Ohio is going to be one of the most competitive Senate seats in the country. One of the Senate seats that are going to get a ton of money poured in. Right now, Brown is up against Moreno by 5 points. And so this would make it a lean margin for Democrats. Do I believe this is going to happen? Probably not, but that's not the point of this video. I do see Republicans picking up the seat just because of how Republican Ohio has gone in recent elections. But it would make it a lean Democrat state. Then we have Florida. The latest poll out of Florida has Scott only up by 2 points. I do believe that this poll is an outlier. I do think that Republicans are going to win this by about 8 or 9 points just because of how Republican Florida has gotten. But anyways, this would only be a tilt state for Republicans. Right now, the latest poll out of Maryland has Alsobrooks up against Hogan, the very popular former governor of the state. Now, polls before that one did show that Larry Hogan was up, but I do believe that Alsobrooks will be coming on top, and that is what the poll is showing right now. Alsobrooks would win by a likely margin. The next state that we have is Pennsylvania. The latest poll out of Pennsylvania has Casey up by 4 points. Now, Casey is a very popular incumbent in Pennsylvania, and the polls have been showing that he is up. Not one poll out of Pennsylvania has shown that Dave McCormick is up. I do believe that this state is definitely a lost cause for Republicans, and that's what the polls are showing. Bob Casey would win by a lean margin. And then our last state, New Jersey. New Jersey has been trending to the right in recent years. Right now, the latest poll has Kim up by 7 points. seats. Now, the reason why this could really get competitive in New Jersey is because Bob Menendez is running an independent bid to be New Jersey's senator. Now, Bob Menendez is a Democratic incumbent, but because he's very scandal-plagued and has a lot of court trials, the Democrats actually decided to have Kim lead the ticket instead of Menendez. Now, because Menendez is running, I really do see this race closing up. I do see this race probably under 6 points. Right now, the latest poll has Andy Kim up by 7 points, and that would be a likely margin. So there you have it. Based on the latest poll from all of these Senate races, Republicans would win a 51-49 majority. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button down below and subscribe. Comment your thoughts or suggestions in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.